13-year-old kid with the hand-me-down phone to be able to play your game.
Yeah, but it sounds cool when you say, I've got water carbon cooling systems, for the superconductors. Like throwing that stuff out from a marketing.
Fortnite
Yeah, from a marketing term, you get to throw in Fortnite, and you get to say, water cooling superconductor. With
you realize we're gonna have to say like all of this again.
Yeah, I know. I know, but I'm just saying that's why it is.
Yeah,
because you throw that in there. I mean, if you said it has a laser scope on it, people will be like, "All right, I have no idea what a laser scope is."
The difference is that I want a laser scope.
Yeah, I know.
You say that. I don't actually want
exactly.
That.
As soon as I said that, now you want to buy it. It's clearly we need to help out Samsung with marketing. Hello, everyone. This is Trends with Benefits.
That's how we're getting it.
No, I'm just kidding. No, hello, everyone. This is Trends with Benefits. This is our weekly podcast here from Digital Trends, where we talk about the trending tech topics of the day. In addition to being a podcast, we're broadcasting live on Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. So because of that, we can take your comments. Well, Periscope as well. I said Twitter. I was hoping you'd just let me slide without saying Periscope, but Caleb busted me on it. We've got him over here.
I enjoy laughing at Periscope.
He's checking it off
every time you say it.
And on Periscope. We're broadcasting everywhere that you can find us. So the thing is, we can take comments, questions as we go through this show. And a lot of what we're going to be talking about today is the big news, which was Samsung's Unpacked event, where they revealed the new Galaxy Note 9. We're going to talk about Bixby. We're going to talk about the Galaxy Home. We're going to talk about the Galaxy Watch, Galaxy everything, and everything that comes along with that. There were some good things and there were some bad things that we want to discuss, but we want your opinions. And one of the questions that we put up was the Galaxy Note 9, by all accounts, seems to be packed with a lot of new technology. There does seem to be some pretty cool things on it, but it comes down to this, which seems to be the standard question now for every new phone that comes out. Will you pay $1,000 for it? And that's what we want to know. And of course, any other questions that you have as we go through the show. But let's introduce our cast of characters. I'm Greg Nibler, and to my right,
I am Parker Hall. I am an AV and entertainment writer, and one of this guy's minions.
One of Caleb's minions, who Caleb, as I just looked over, is now wearing sunglasses as part of his cool guy persona that he knows.
Yeah, I'm working on a new thing over here.
He's working on a new act. How's it going, Caleb?
It's going great.
All right.
It's been a long day.
It's been a long day. This is what Caleb's turning into. You just got to let him do it.
Because today I am the Whiskey Mist Unpacked. We're unraveling.
Just gonna let that sink into everybody right there.
Trying to think of
it's been a long day.
Whiskey.
Whiskey Mistby.
It's been a long day of reading about Samsung things. So let's let Caleb have his breakdown here. So let's talk about this. So the Galaxy Note 9. Let's go to that first, and some of the different things that came out with it. Obviously the camera seems to be pretty good from what we've seen from it. We've got one of the big things that they were talking about, which is what I brought up at the beginning of the show, was their new way of cooling the phone with a water carbon superconductor.
Oh, yes.
Which Parker is a very big fan of.
Huge deal for me.
I mean, several different things on it. I mean, the standard one is a 120 gigabyte internal storage, 6 gigs of RAM. Maybe let's just talk about general impressions first, and then let's go through each one of these things as we get your comments coming in, because I'm seeing people saying yes and no. We'll get to all of those. Parker, what was your general impression of it?
So here's the deal. This is actually perfect because I just bought a new phone a couple months ago. I bought a OnePlus 6. It was $650, I want to say. It's probably cheaper now. I got the high-end version, 8 gigs of RAM, Snapdragon 845. I think it's got like a 6.2-inch display, big battery, all the bells and whistles.
And this is the OnePlus?
The OnePlus 6. And this phone, I look at this Samsung and I just think, wow, that's literally twice the money.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that it's definitely not going to be twice as good.
Right.
And then, it's just one of those things where you wonder, like, there's sort of diminishing returns when it comes to these phones. So you have to wonder, like, is it really going to be that worth it to consumers to be going for something like that? And something that has, frankly, so much bloatware. I mean, Samsung is not exactly known as a streamlined provider of Android, to its users. So it's like, how tied into Samsung are you, I guess, is the question.
Yeah.
And is it worth the money? Where, like, with Apple, if you're that tied in, an iPhone X to me is like, okay, I get it. You want the nicest Apple product, and that is an ecosystem that you literally have no choice. You have to pay that much for their flagship device.
Right.
You can get a flagship Android that is arguably as good for significantly less money.
So the money difference is the big thing for you. Like you're not willing to spend $1,000.
I mean, it's 500 extra bucks.
Yeah. And taking a look here, I mean, somebody just said, Ryan said yes, because I wanted it before my S9 Plus. So Ryan would pay $1,000 for the Note 9.
Okay.
And then, some different comments coming back and forth. But again, let us know your comments and questions, or maybe what you look for in a phone. Is there something that would make you willing to pay $1,000 for a phone? Caleb, what are your initial thoughts?
Yeah. Samsung has a lot going on right now that I don't know. I almost don't know where to start. So I think
let's focus on the Note 9
I think it's a beautiful phone.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
They've got gorgeous colors. They stepped away from. It's like they recovered from their battery woes from 2 years ago. Yeah. They're like, okay, we're going to put a proper 4,000 milliamp hour battery in there and give people some great battery life. We'll talk about the S Pen in a second.
Yes, we'll go through
but they're trying really hard to make it useful. I don't know if they stuck the landing on that. Hey, it's got a headphone jack, so there's that.
Yeah.
Yay!
So does my OnePlus.
For that.
I am actually kind of surprised by that.
They upped the camera game, and I would want to put this against like the Pixel 2 to see just who has like the best camera. But and as Parker was pointing out, they're all really pretty good cameras.
Yeah, that's
so
2018.
It just really depends on
Pixel 3 is coming out, right? I mean, so
Google,
how long are they going to win? For?
Right. Yeah. Right. But again, it's that same thing. Like, how much more can you really utilize a camera?
True.
At this point, before you get into like a professional
race,
average
low light,
people aren't going to be.
I think the thing that people want is low light performance. That is really good, and I think if they get there, they put the AI in there. It's
good,
so it automatically senses certain scenes, and that's going to help you step away from like press and hold to adjust your exposure, like you do on the iPhone. So that's helpful. I think that's a meaningful upgrade. But Samsung really is building itself a big ecosystem. Like a lot of things are available through Samsung that most of you aren't aware. Like with this phone, it's automatically going to set up your Samsung TV for you and log you into all of your apps. Mm-hmm. It's really easy to share stuff from your phone to a Samsung TV. They've also got. Oh gosh, I'm having a total brain fart right now on the podcast. Mark the calendars, folks. I just brain farted live on the air. No, they've also got. I really am brain farting.
It's okay. Well, no, they've got a lot of different things. One, we're going to get into the smart home speaker, but I think the idea of this
smart things. Yeah, the Smart Things app on Samsung devices is one of the better ways to control all these disparate smart home stuff. You loops in your Philips Hue and your Schlage and QuickSet locks, and it really makes it's the one app that like houses everything under one roof. If you get their hub, it makes that easier. I don't know if that people are that into the smart home space yet, but it's a building thing,
But I mean, that's also just all Samsung products. Is Samsung enough of a driver in that I'm going to want to get? No. Samsung.
Yeah, that's my concern.
I mean, in the smart home space,
it'll integrate with all of them.
Everything.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay.
Nest, Schlage, QuickSet, all of that stuff.
Well, I think, and that comes down to Bixby and the smart home speaker, which we're going to get to that here in just a second.
Bixby.
Just a couple more things on the hardware side of the S9. The S Pen. It's now has a little bit of Bluetooth in it. I don't know if that's enough.
Bluetooth Low Energy. For me, it works from like 30 feet, and I think what they're trying to say is you could do a business presentation and use the pen from 30 feet away.
That's a nice little added bonus. But again, not something that I'm going to.
Has that ever been like on someone's highlight reel for why to buy one?
No.
Let's be honest. People want it because it's bigger. And it's faster.
Yeah, and it is bigger.
I don't know that many people who are actually writing on it,
That's true. Yeah, we were having I was having a discussion about this off air with Riley. I'm like, I don't think I've ever used a pen on a phone, to be honest. It's just not something that I do.
2004 on a Palm Pilot.
But, it's something on there. Okay, taking a look here at some of the comments that are coming through. Yeah, low light photography is definitely something that everybody's very interested in.
Yeah, if they get that right, they got something.
Yeah.
I don't know if they got $1,000 worth of something.
Yeah.
But look, they kind of had to. They're going against the iPhone 10.
Yeah.
And you have to play that game. Otherwise, you look like you're stupid,
Yeah.
And people who maybe aren't as deep into technology as we are going to walk into stores. I've spent a lot of time in the T-Mobile store recently, which is weird, but I had to. And I did a lot of milling around and looking at stuff. And man, the Galaxy phones are really attractive. Like, I want to pick them up. Out of everything in the store, I wanted to to check that out the most because it's not an iPhone, which I'm already familiar with. They look great. They feel great. They have that cool factor. And so if you're at the retail level and you're looking at the pricing, they're like, well, how can it be that good if it's $200 less than the iPhone 10? You know, so I feel like in some ways they kind of had to do that. I agree with Parker. The storage thing is out of control. Who needs 512 gigabytes of onboard storage?
Well, plus the expandable card. Like, I mean, you can already add a card.
Because if you fill that thing up, what are you going to do with all that? Like, what happens when you need to get rid of it and purge? Like, you have the most massive undertaking on just use cloud storage like everybody else does.
Yeah. Well, and to be clear, too, so the standard one comes with 128 gigabytes. That's the $1,000 model.
That's still a lot.
512 gigabytes is $1,250. It does have 8 gigs of RAM.
Yeah, you're paying. They're taxing you for the RAM, in my opinion. I mean, because it's got expandable SD card storage. So, like, you can 128 gigs plus essentially like an ever-growing size card. Like right now, I think you can get 512 gigs, but like, let's be honest, like in a year, you'll be able to get a terabyte one.
I don't want to be taxed for the RAM.
But you're getting paid $200. You have to pay $200 for 2 gigs of RAM.
Yeah.
Like
Summer Caleb will not be taxed for RAM.
And meanwhile, I should note that I have 8 gigs of RAM in my $650 phone.
Yeah.
With the same processor.
Taking a look at some of the comments. They're saying if it had a holographic camera, a hologram camera, or some kind of holographic capabilities, a hologramma. That's good. I like that.
I want one of those too.
Yeah, we all want those.
I don't know if
maybe laser scopes.
$1,000. Yeah, with the laser scopes, of course. And everybody's saying want to see comparisons. Let's see. Yeah, Theodore says would like to see some comparisons. They all work great, but they release new versions too quickly. That's true.
The comparisons are coming.
Money,
they're coming. We have to review this thing first. And I will say Julian Chokatu, excuse me, knows his stuff.
Yeah.
And
that's our mobile.
And he's digging this phone. And maybe he's just getting romanced a little bit out there at the Unpacked event, or maybe he's got his head screwed on straight and he's really digging the phone.
They're always good.
Yeah, and Julian sees a lot of phones. I don't see him getting
all the phones.
Over, being blown away by something that's by some bells and whistles.
He was impressed, and his write-up. I mean, if you really want to learn more, go check out our hands-on first impressions of this phone and read through it. He does a great job laying it all out. It's like, this is what this is, and this is what it does, and then you can decide for yourself whether that's meaningful to you.
Right.
Like,
I mean, it's a perennial year-end favorite device, right? I mean, like the Samsung, these models have pretty much always ended up on our favorites list, and that's not because we love Samsung so much. That's because they're always good.
Yeah. It's good. It's just the $1,000 price tag. Are you willing to pay it? And that's part of it. And just seeing some different comments again. Everybody's got comments on this, so keep your comments and questions coming through too, and we'll answer them if we can. If not, like Caleb said, Julian's hands-on review, because he was there at the event, is very good. There's a couple other things though. Let's get into talking about Bixby. Back to the Bixby.
Let's have this hard conversation.
The Bixby conundrum.
That's right the thing. Now. So here's the thing that keeps me from buying a Samsung device is things like Bixby.
Yeah.
Because the reality is, like, when you, as I was saying, when you go with Apple and you get trapped in that ecosystem, or not trapped, you purposefully opt into that ecosystem and everything works, and that's fantastic. The reality is that Samsung wants to be that, but they're just not. Android is not like that. It's not something that you have to be exclusive to Samsung. And the other thing is, like, Google just does it better, and so does Amazon. And so Bixby is the kind of thing that just annoys me and doesn't actually make me want to buy their product.
Yeah, we bag on Bixby a lot, and I feel like we don't give enough examples of why it sucks. So let me give you an example. I had Samsung's latest best TV in here just a month and a half ago, and Bixby's built in, and when you do voice search, it's Bixby that's doing it. You don't get to use Android,
Alexa, or
no Google Assistant, Alexa, not through the TV itself.
Okay,
you can control the TV using on a device that supports one of those.
If you have a Google Home or whatever.
But if you're using the TV's remote and microphone to call something up, it's Bixby, right? And I'm in there, and one request that is accommodated by every other one, including Android TV, which I'm not a big fan of either. I say, show me 4K HDR videos on YouTube, right?
Okay.
Very simple, very straightforward.
Should be straightforward.
it doesn't even know what 4K is. It's a 4K HDR TV that doesn't know what 4K is. It spells it out for you in captions along the bottom of the screen, and
it'll say 4K,
it says
but it doesn't.
FORKAY.
Oh wow!
Instead of 4K.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like
if
you don't get that right, I mean, what else are you getting wrong?
You just can't put, like, let's be honest, they just can't possibly put the development dollars that, like, Amazon or Google is putting into this. They just don't have the team.
It seems like they don't understand how to make it work. Like, they haven't cracked a code that others have, and I mean, maybe that's an engineering or
thousands of engineers.
Programming problem.
Yeah. Well, and years of data. Institutional learning about
I mean, like,
Google and
you
Amazon.
think like Google, like, they sit there and they answer queries all day. That's literally what they do. And same with Amazon. I mean, they answer queries for products all day.
Also, and this is a question for everybody who is watching, and if you're listening, come through and comment on the Facebook post for this or whatever, but I don't know. Are you guys kind of getting tired of all the different names you have to say in order to call up a digital assistant? I feel like, we have Hey Google and Alexa. Sorry, I just turned on all your speakers, by the way. Although we have those two, and I mean, people don't, and I mean, people are using Siri less. People are using Cortana less. If they were ever using it at all.
Right, forgot about Cortana.
Yeah, exactly. But like, we don't want another name to have to say. And Bixby, nice try with the butler assistant, little Bixby.
Hello, Bixby.
It's just like a disappointment word for me now, like Bixby.
I think it's over. I think for now, at least for now, we're content to try and wrap our heads around how to talk to Alexa and the Google Assistant.
Yeah.
And Bixby is just not gonna break through.
Well, there's a couple of things with that. One, just to reiterate, I still think Google Home should be called Gary. I really think that's what they should have named that. It should be, hey Gary, turn on the television.
I don't know, man. My problematic neighbor is named Gary, and I'd have a problem with that.
Okay. You don't want to say his name all day long. Oh, hey Gary. Anyway, but beside that,
from SpongeBob.
Bixby, Samsung is not ready to give up Bixby. So a couple other things, that we wanted to talk about with today's Samsung Unpacked event. And again, just to kind of bring you back up to speed for those watching live, drop in your comments, your questions, everything about it. And still, of course, let us know if you pay $1,000 for the Galaxy Note 9. It's a standard question that we ask for when all of these new phones come out, because that seems to be the standard price now. And generally speaking, it's no. But somebody's buying them. So, maybe not everybody's buying them, but somebody's buying them out there. So let's get back to the Bixby side, because they're not giving up on Bixby. And perfect example of this is the new Galaxy Home smart speaker, which ostensibly would be competing with a Google Home, an Amazon Echo, an Apple HomePod, all of those different things. Now,
two good things and one bad thing.
Yeah, right. One of these things is not like the other. So the speaker came out. I guess let's talk about the speaker side of it first. I don't know how much chance you guys have had to take a look at that.
Well,
I mean, obviously not in person yet.
I saw it last year. I can finally say this.
Oh, okay. So you saw
it last year,
CES.
and they said it was coming out, and then they were like, oops, no, it isn't. And by the way, don't forget you're under embargo and you can't talk about this.
Yeah.
So now that it's here, I can talk about it. I saw it last year in New Jersey, and it was right around the same time that they were, loading Bixby control into their fridges and ovens and other smart home appliances. It did not look anything like this. It went through a complete redesign, if I'm not mistaken. At least the feet. I don't remember the feet being there. And
for those listening to the podcast, it looks generally like.
But think about that.
It looks like a 1950s spaceship with the top cut off.
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, with like three, pegs that come out at the bottom.
Think about the fact that it was out.
Or maybe
it's been in development for probably a year and a half, maybe two, and they just couldn't bring it out back then. I heard it. It sounded really good. Samsung's got a great audio development lab. Yeah. Like they have this full-on thing. Their sound bars are sounding great.
Yeah.
They are definitely pushing hardcore for good sound, and I have no doubt that speaker is going to sound really, really good.
It looks pretty.
I just don't know if I'm going to want to use it. If I have to use Bixby, play me some music. Okay, fine. But Bixby, play blah, 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 blah on Spotify, or play this playlist on Spotify. If it doesn't get that right, and I have to try more than twice, I'm just going to give up.
At least it'll
and I'm
work,
worried about that.
At least it'll work with Spotify. I mean, theoretically, it'll work with Spotify and Google Play Music or YouTube Music, as it will be.
Well, they're partnered with Spotify, and that's the default out of the box,
nice.
Which is weird because all the Samsung phones default to Google Play Music, because they're Android based. So I don't know. They managed to work something out with Spotify, and I think that was smart.
Yeah.
That was smart. They had to, though, right? Because they can't do anything with Apple Music.
Take a look at a couple of the comments coming through just about it. Steve said it looks like a small barbecue. Yep. It kind of looks like a little Weber barbecue, I guess.
If you're thinking about the inverted Weber grill, sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of those.
The kettle.
I mean, I think it might sound great. But, yeah, again, Bixby.
Yeah, I mean, I guess at that point, if you're going to get a smart home assistant, is the sound good enough to outweigh...
No. At that point, I would just get a Sonos.
And you guys are audio
if
guys.
I really
Like,
didn't want to play with someone's in-house thing, I would just get a Sonos because then you can pick.
Well, that's true.
You could use them all.
Yeah, you could use every one of them.
I mean, that's really Sonos's...
Yeah, they've got that nailed.
Which is why I feel like if Samsung had just gone for that kind of an aspect, they might actually have something pretty good.
That's where I don't understand, like, the forced ecosystem thing. Because, like... Yeah, in theory, you're making everything easy, and you're hoping to create people who are like, okay, I have a Samsung phone, so I'm going to buy a Samsung TV, so I'm going to buy a Samsung smart home hub, so I'm going to buy a Samsung speaker. Mm-hmm. But the reality is that if you do all of those things in a way that forces people to do that, they're not going to want to buy each individual thing.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're like, we make a great smart speaker and you can use it with Bixby, you can use it with whatever you want and it sounds great. We make a great phone. You can pick whatever assistant you want. These things still all talk to each other really well. Then that, to me, that's way more enticing.
Sure, but Apple can do it. And so Samsung wants to do it.
Yeah, but Apple's the biggest company on earth.
Yeah, well, Samsung's
$1 trillion.
There's no slouch themselves. I mean, they basically run South Korea. Like, they're massive. They have tons and tons of capital. Mm-hmm. So, Samsung is also an equally huge organization. And the thing is, they look at Apple, they say, well, Apple did it, we should be able to do it too. It's a point of pride. And then on top of that, the ship has sailed, man. They are well away from the coast, and they're in the middle of Bixby and SmartThings waters. They cannot reverse course now. They can't. They spent too much time and too much money on it.
It's like the HD DVD route. They're just not going to give up until it's just too late.
Until it is put to death.
Yeah.
So I think that's where they're at right now.
Well, it's an interesting marketing strategy that they're doing to just not let this go. And I'm curious, if anybody out there, is this something you would buy? I'm going to guess I know the answer. And again, it's nothing against, like I said, if it was just a speaker, cool. That's something they should be getting into.
It's almost like despite themselves, they still make excellent products too. Like,
the products are good.
It's still, the thing is, like, the Note 9 is still worth considering, even if you hate Bixby a lot. The same way that, like,
because
any of their devices are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so that's it's such a shame in a way, that you're like, you have to always have that caveat of like, this product's awesome, just ignore this one thing about it that we all hate.
Yeah. That's not a good place to be.
Yeah, that is tough. But I mean, because they will get some people to pay. Let's see. I'm taking a look. There's some comments coming in, some things I can't read. Talking about $1,000 phone. Got it. You don't want to buy that. Let's see. Have to. And Sean says all phones are overpriced, and then phone services are overpriced. Yeah, I think we can all agree. Nobody wants to spend more money, but there's a lot in this phone, and again, that's kind of seems to be where the standard is for the high-end phones when they come out. $1,000 seems to be what we're heading towards.
They're really powerful now. Like we're laptop range now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anybody care about the Gear Watch?
That's what I wanted to get to next. Was the Gear Watch? The Galaxy Watch that's the next evolution in the Gear series.
It's
I don't
probably
know
going to be
dropping Gear and just going to Galaxy Watch, but I mean, it looks very cool to me.
I like that it looks like a normal watch. I'm a watch guy, although I forgot to wear my watch today.
Yeah. So you use a smartwatch.
I know I use a regular watch every day, but I like this. So my big beef with smartwatches is that I have to look like I'm wearing a little tiny refrigerator on my wrist, and so this is like seeing these images. It looks like a normal watch, which is nice. I could see myself actually wearing something like that.
I think that, I mean, for me personally, I don't have a lot of use for it other than as for health things, for like monitoring running and things like that, or exercising. But it does look cool. Aesthetically, I have to agree. Like that one, it looks cool to me. Caleb, what do you think? Have you ever been a smartwatch person?
So yeah, I dig it. I dig the idea. I just can't seem to keep one on my wrist for any amount of time. I mean,
the charging's
even my Fitbit. I don't wear that anymore.
I gave up on. I had the Fitbit Charge, and that was working fine for me. But I mean, keeping it on my wrist is really difficult. I would do an Apple Watch. I think. because I use an iPhone and it makes the most amount of sense.
Okay, yeah.
And it does do all the fitness monitoring, step tracking, all that good stuff. If they can make this watch work with their phones as well as Apple Watch does with the Apple phones, then they got something going on, because I do like the look way more than the Apple Watch.
Yeah, it does. It looks cool. I mean, and again,
because I am an old conventional watch guy. I grew up wearing Fossil watches. This has that kind of vibe, and I'm down with it. But will I buy one? Only if I end up converting to an Android phone.
Yeah, see, that's the thing for me. I just don't have an option. Like, as an Android phone user, I don't have an option, or I haven't had an option that's even remotely as good as the Apple Watch. So it's just been kind of like meh.
Yeah.
So it's nice to at least have that being offered by someone, at least like a top tier manufacturer.
Yeah. That's something that aesthetically looks like that. And who knows, where it'll go from there. But I think they may be onto something there. But you're right. If you're an Apple user, you have no use for this. Like, this is strictly an Android thing, I would think, as far as that's concerned. Going back to just the Bixby comparisons versus everything else. Apple Maps versus Google Maps all over again. Somebody just said on Twitch. That's,
I guess, yeah. Except I guess Samsung would be Apple Maps. In this
Samsung would be
you'd
Apple
have
Maps.
to reverse it, but that's definitely true.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like, even Apple admitted, or didn't admit, but admitted when they did their new update to CarPlay and allowed you to finally use Google Maps. They admitted
Waze.
They admitted defeat.
Well, we'll see where it's at. Again, just to kind of recap, talk about Samsung Unpacked today before we wrap up here. So the Galaxy Note 9 looks great, packed with tech. Julian, check out Julian's
Unpacked.
review. Samsung Unpacked. Is that what I just said?
Unpacked with... No, you said it's packed with tech. But they unpacked it. I don't understand.
Yeah. Okay. That
Sorry.
just got really confusing on there. You need to put your sunglasses back on.
You're right.
Absolutely. So Samsung Unpacked event, Galaxy Note 9 packed with tech. Some great reviews at digitaltrends.com, because as usual, we had a whole team on the ground at this thing covering every aspect in detail. So if you're wanting those specific stats, you want to get a lot more detail on it, just head to digitaltrends.com and you can take a look at all the reviews on there.
Also, if you want to learn about Space Force being the sixth plants,
do we have an article up on Space Force now?
About to go up.
Oh my God,
Space Force. So there you go. You can learn about that.
Where do I sign up?
Yes, I'm Parker Hall from the Space Force.
I'm too old at this point. I can't enlist in the Space Force. Like, if I can't get into the Navy or the Army, I'm not getting into Space Force.
They don't want you in our nation's military.
I'm too old.
I mean, what about when the asteroid comes? Don't you want to be the one that goes out there and lands on the asteroid,
drills into it,
and
drills
explodes
it?
Well,
but if there's a draft, you know what I mean?
I did it for all of humanity.
I'm pushing for Space Force, definitely.
Okay. All right. So good. So Caleb, we may all.
I'm a Coast Guard guy.
That sounds a lot easier. Not that it's easy to be in the Coast Guard. That's not what I meant. All right.
Space Force. I mean, we don't know what the qualifications are.
Back to Samsung. The Galaxy Watch also, we talked about that, and of course the Bixby smart home speaker. Before we go off the rails, thank you everybody for tuning in to Trends with Benefits. We do this show live every Thursday at 2:30 p.m. Pacific, but then it's up as a podcast, and that's where we want you to hit subscribe. So wherever you get your podcasts, just type in Digital Trends, and you'll see our podcasts on there. Hit subscribe, and that way make sure that you get them every week. And send us in questions, podcast@digitaltrends.com. If you have some specific questions or comment on the articles, that's always a good way too. Then you can hear directly from the editors, but we can always pass on any questions that you have. So let us know on that, and I think that's about...
That's all the time we have.
I think it's how long they spin you in the G. You know those like circle G things? I feel like if you can go for more than like a couple minutes, Space Force.
Space Force.
You just get like a patch.
Okay, for the patch, it might be worth it.
You pretty much have to be Jodie Foster to get it.
Okay, that's it. It's all Jodie.
It's the deal.
It's just Jodie Foster and Bruce Willis. They're the Space Force.
Yeah. Send your comments about the whiskey mist.
Send those in. All right, thanks everybody for watching.
You have to be an expert at oil drilling.
Next week with another episode.
And not an astronaut for some reason.
Ben Affleck or Bruce Willis.
Be really mad at the hot shot dating your daughter.
For some reason, it's easier to train.